What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I am your host, as always, Coach Steve. This is the last day of 2021, and since the last time we've actually podcast, which was Monday, we're doing it on Friday, which is not an ordinary thing for us. So much has happened. But Jibs, how you been, buddy? How's everything with you, man?
Everything's going good. Just trying to end this new year right. It's also a first New Year's Eve podcast, but I'm doing well. Just trying to live in the moment and taking this last fantasy season and kind of take some time off and live in the dark till the playoffs start.
Yes. How many teams are in your finals now, my friend?
I have 7 teams
Nice.
in the finals, 7 out of 11.
Nice. Love that. But yeah, like I said, Jib said it right. We will be taking a short break, as we always do. The month of January, we kind of take a month off to kind of recharge for another season. So if you're looking for our podcast, it probably won't be here for until the end of January, and we'll get back up to some dynasty talk. But we had to give you guys one last podcast in. I mean, there's so many things that's happened this past week, guys. I mean, for myself personally, I got 5 teams in the finals. I got the nice hit with COVID once again, out of work for a week. Out for my birthday, out for New Year's, a lot of fun. Some tragedy has hit for sure. Good old John Madden passed away on my birthday, which sucks. Legend that man was. The other legend was Betty White, passed away today. That hit really hard right now. But sad days to see some deaths before the end of the year. But we're going to continue to move on and just continue to find some news for you guys and some players today. So start with the news. I mean, as you guys all know, they changed the protocol rules for COVID, which is fantastic for fantasy because, well, I wish they did it 3 weeks ago, but it's definitely going to help. Obviously, from 10 days now, it's down to 5 days. Players have to be out for. So a bunch of players who we all thought were going to be out for this week have been activated, are playing this week now. But there has some big ones over the last, I think today, Jibs, when it really started hitting, right? What was it yesterday? I think it was starting today, actually. So
I felt yesterday was actually a pretty quiet day.
Yeah, it was a quiet day yesterday. But today, Kirk Cousins out. Antonio Gibson out. Jarrett Cook out. Jerry Jeudy and possibly Courtland Sutton out because of COVID reasons. There's nothing they can do about that. They are out for Week 17.
Fire up Noah Fant.
Fire up Noah Fant for sure. As far for the Vikings, Sean Mario, I don't know how to say his last name, will be getting a start for the Vikings. That's the only thing I'm going to talk about him about. It seems like we're getting starts from Tyler Huntley and Trey Lance. Deandra Swift is back. And that's about it in terms of the news that's kind of been going around the league right now. So we'll see kind of how that goes about. But let's get into the topic today, Jibs. We're going to try to get as many players we're going to talk about as possible. So I guess we will start with some kind of a quarterback situation here. So who's somebody, Jibs, you're kind of lower on that someone may be able to start in a pinch?
It's for this week it's Davis Mills, and I'm just tired of suggesting all these suboptimal sleepers, and I'm going with the Davis Mills, who actually has been pretty consistent for what you kind of want out of a streaming quarterback. He's gotten 18 points 2 of the last 3 games. The lowest point total he had in that time span is also 15 points. So he gives you somewhat of a floor that you're kind of looking for. You're not getting that variety of bags what we've been getting out of like the Tuas and the Tannehills of the world, just barely getting you over 10 points. Matt Ryan, for instance, Ben Roethlisberger. So the 49ers defense in totality is pretty good, but they also give the 12th most points to fantasy quarterbacks. So I think he could probably get you 18, 20 points max, but I'd rather just take the floor play this week and go with someone that I could trust rather than just someone that is just boomer bust, to say the least.
I think you said it pretty well for the most part, to be honest. I'm looking at the quarterbacks right now and those ones that are kind of down on the list where you might be able to pick up, and there's really nothing else out there. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, Drew Lock, Zach Wilson. None of these guys really scream, start worthy in a championship week. But for some reason, and I kind of agree with you, Jibs, Davis Mills has been on fire. And not on fire, but he's been playing very solid football. And he's someone, I agree with you, is a great sleeper this week. What about a bust, Jibs? Who do you have as a bust, honestly, for your fantasy week?
My bust this week, I'm a little lower on Justin Herbert, and I don't think he'll bust out completely, obviously. But Denver has been playing exceptionally well against opposing quarterbacks over the last 4 weeks, or since their bye week, actually. Justin Herbert was the only quarterback to score more than 20 points, and he had 21. And out of the last four, they barely had 12 points. So, yeah, Denver's defense probably can keep up with the game. I know some of this COVID news probably takes their offensive a little bit out of this game, which probably will benefit them. But still, the Denver Broncos haven't allowed a quarterback to throw more than one touchdown pass in the last 4 games, and given their Los Angeles Chargers rushing deficiency this year, I think Denver will probably just try to take like a clock killing kind of motivation on offense and run the ball a lot, which probably will take Justin Herbert's attempts away, to say the least. So it's a little bit tricky, but I think there's some quirks in there for him to have a bad game this week.
Yeah, no, I like that one a lot there. The Eagles just love to run the ball so much. It's scary sometimes that he doesn't get the work. Probably not. We'll see. I love the mug there. Is that new mug?
Yeah.
Hey, love it.
Um,
Nice new Eagles mug. Love that. For me, guys, because I didn't think of another sleeper that would really work for championship week here. As in terms of a bust, though, Ryan Tannehill. If you're thinking about starting Ryan Tannehill this week, please try not to. Try to find another option for you. Yes, AJ Brown is back, and we love that, but Ryan Tannehill has really not performed to a level of quarterback standard that we all hope for. And in a championship game, I mean, in the last 4 weeks, he's had no more than 16 fantasy points. He just really isn't putting up the numbers that you want. And Miami, for the most part, has been pretty tough defense, and they're a team that like to take the ball away. And they haven't allowed, many two quarterbacks to go for more than 2 touchdown passes over the last 2 months now. And they've been a very top-notch defense. And if you're thinking, oh, I've been using Tannehill on and off, he's been making me through it, look for another option. Look for somebody who has that more upside play for you in fantasy. All right, so let's talk about some of the other quarterbacks here, Jibs here. Guy like Taysom Hill, again, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but I believe he should be back this week. You trust Taysom Hill in a championship matchup?
Yeah, if it had to come down to it, I could trust him, but you could just kind of take your lumps with Trey Lance, obviously, as well, given the better offensive weapons, to say the least.
And I think you make a pretty valid point on that, to be honest, because I'm not really looking to start a guy like Taysom Hill. What I was able to see from this season, if he doesn't get those rushing touchdowns, it's usually like a no-go on that for the most part. I mean, he had a good game against Dallas and the Jets, but you saw what he was able to do against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it was pretty bad. Panthers, they're not a bad defense, and they've been pretty good against quarterback for the most part. They've held a lot of QBs to 1 touchdown or fewer, and him coming off an injury himself right now, I believe it was COVID that he was out for the last week or so, just doesn't really want me to trust him enough. We know players coming off of COVID has been somewhat of a scary situation. So for me, Taysom Hill just is too liable to start this week. But you're right. Trey Lance, he is someone I'm intrigued with. We saw him early on this season here play, and he played really well. I believe he had 2 games where he started, or at least one he filled in, and he had 18 and 15 fantasy points, and he ran for over 120 yards in those 2 games. He's definitely someone in a championship game. A rushing quarterback is someone that I'm willing to take a shot on because it's the Houston Texans. Houston's been on and off at times with their defense, but Trey Lance is going to run the ball as a rookie. He's not going to just throw it up and hope that his receiver gets it. He's going to be probably nervous, and he's probably going to run the ball. And in fantasy, your rushing stats help you win. So I think Trey Lance has an opportunity to start over a lot of people this week. Like, let's see here, Jibs. I'm trying to see. Some of the top guys have a really great matchup this week, but do you start him over like Tua, Russell Wilson?
I'll start him over Tua for sure. Russell Wilson, I might take my chances with Russell Wilson against Detroit, given the fact that maybe Jared Goff won't be playing, so you have easier chances for him to do better.
Okay. I like that. I think I'm considering starting him over Russell too, because if you look at it, Russ, he's been solid. He's only had 2 QB1 performances over the last 7 weeks now. And Detroit isn't a team where you really just throw the ball a ton. It's more of either they play really tough defense on you, or you can run the ball heavily on them. And it seems like Rashad Penny is really starting to get his niche in the NFL right now. And I think if you're starting Russ, you're expecting him to get 20 to 25 fantasy points, but in reality, you're looking at like 15 to 17 probably at best. So you take that with a grain of salt if you're looking for an upside play. That's kind of why I like Trey Lance over him this week. Let's see here. Anyone else we kind of want to mention? What about Mack Jones versus the Jaguars? Is that intriguing enough to go out there and start a guy like Mack Jones, or you can't trust it?
I can't trust it. I just don't think there will be enough pass attempts, even if it's a good game strip, and you just don't know with the Patriots. I know they're going to run the ball, so that's a no
Yeah,
for me.
yeah. It's tough to want to start Mac Jones. He just doesn't. I just don't know what the offense. He's played well over the last 2 months. He really has, but to trust that offense still, I feel like they're going to try to run the ball as much as possible with Harris and Stevenson that's coming back now, and just say let's just run this ball and get a quick win here. So yeah, I really can't trust him in my starting lineup. Let's see here. Is there anyone else? Would you give Justin Fields? Oh, he's not starting. He's already out. I think Andy Dalton already got the confirmed start on that. So
Mm,
we'll leave it at
wow.
that. Um, that's really it, honestly. There's no one out there I'm looking at that I would question to maybe play. What about Derek Carr? Do you play Derek Carr, or you just can't trust that at all?
I don't want nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
He's done.
Yeah. He was so good early on in the season. I'm
He had a
losing to
layup
play.
schedule, though.
Huh?
He had a layup schedule, and then it got tough, I
He did.
believe.
He did have a layup schedule. He did, yes. But Darren Waller is now out for the year because I think he had COVID. So they basically just knocked him out for the rest of the season at this point. So yeah, that's really it for the quarterback. So let's move on to the RB. So Jibs, do you have an RB sleeper for us this week?
Keyshawn Vaughn would be a guy I will recommend, and we saw him break off a huge 55-yard rushing touchdown last week for the bulk of his production. But Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are going against the New York Football Jets this week, who give up the most rushing yards to fantasy running backs this year. They gave up 22 touchdowns to running backs. They're averaging a touchdown and a half to running backs per game, and they also give up a nice chunk of receiving yards, about 55 yards per game to running backs. We know Ronald Jones could be used as a passer, but he's always kind of messing up in that situation. So maybe they'll give Keyshawn Vaughn the nod in that regards. But the game could be over instantly, and it could be a blowout in the first half, like we saw with Sunday Night Football. So I think with some garbage time reps, Keyshawn Vaughn could definitely fall into some production and be a good flex option with meaningless effort.
Yeah, no, I definitely like that. There's a situation where they kind of need Ronald Jones to be healthy in case Leonard Fournette's not ready for the playoffs. Insert Keyshawn Vaughn, let him run the ball against like the worst defense in the league, and he could end up surprising you in championship week for sure. I like that. My RB sleeper this week is got to be DJ Dallas. They do. We just talked about them playing the Detroit Lions this week, and we love Rashad Penny, and I love Rashad Penny this week, but I still don't trust Rashad Penny enough not to possibly get hurt in this game. There's a very high chance that he still gets hurt. We've known that for his entire career. And DJ Dallas, if Penny gets hurt, Dallas will probably see more of a workload, and he's already seen back-to-back games with four targets now at least. He's seeing the passing work in this offense here, and that's intriguing enough for me that it's possible that he sees a decent workload that he might be able to be a flexible option for you in fantasy because they are likely, hopefully, ahead in this matchup here. So for me, it's DJ Dallas this week that I kind of like in fantasy. Jibs, you back now? All right.
Yeah, my
So
mother called me. I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. You got to answer the fan first, bro. Um, so let's head over to the other side and let's talk about some players. A player we may not really feel confident enough in our championship matchup, and who might that be for you, Jibs?
Mm, I'm a little bit down on Najee Harris, and obviously you're not sitting him because he has getting he has gotten so much volume this year, whether that's rushing for 15 plus carries, 20 carries, and getting his normal around like 3 to 5 receptions per game. But since week 12, the Browns have not allowed a rusher to have more than 66 yards against them, and they're a top 10 team defending pass catching running backs this year. So those kind of things go against Najee and the role he's definitely has acquired with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But another thing that worries me is how Big Ben performs. I know it is going to be his pretty much last home game, so they maybe have a little bit extra juice in them. But over the last couple games, I think 3 or 4 games, the best running back was Aaron Jones. He scored 11 and a half PPR fantasy points. So there hasn't been that much production coming from this Browns defense, and they can make a case that he may have an empty game.
I agree with you, honestly. I'm not a fan of that matchup there for sure. So for me, guys, I went with. This is a tough one here for sure. I would say Aaron.
Since they're bad.
I don't want to say Aaron Jones. I'll talk about him later, but Chase Edmonds. I'm going to go with Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds came off a huge performance this past week here, and we loved it. But obviously, James Conner was, not there, and he should be back hopefully this matchup. But even if he's not, I'm not 100% confident that Chase Edmonds is going to lead this team with the ball on the ground here. Dallas has a really strong defense, especially that front seven there, and with Chase Edmonds, I just don't trust him enough that he's going to see 8 receptions once again in this game. I mean, he's been known to make big receptions at times, but for me, it's just something I can't trust in my championship game. I really do believe that James Conner plays in this matchup. And if it's not James Conner, I still think Chase Edmonds is a risky play to trust in lineups this week. So, all right, Jim. So let's talk about some other players here that we want to kind of go through here. And let me look at my list. Let's see here. Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary has been solid over the last 3 games now, and he plays the Atlanta Falcons. Is he basically a start it all and forget a player right now? You're on mute, my friend.
He's earned that status. He's been getting the work, and the Falcons are pretty much a very good matchup. And I think the Bills should roll over, and that should give Devin Singletary a good opportunity to get some yardage. The Bills have to be fighting for some playoff positions, so they can't take the gas off at any time during the next couple weeks. So I like Devin Singletary. I think honestly, he'll be a good RB2 this week. And if he's your flex, put him in there because I think he's rock and he's ready to roll.
Yeah, definitely. 3 straight games of 11 plus fantasy points here now. He's seen seven. He's seen at least 14 targets over the last 3 games now. He's so involved. I'm not concerned that the wide receivers are coming back still. I believe they like him as their starter, and they're going to continue to push the ball downfield in a matchup where I'd expect them to be able to win this game very, very easily, even with Zach Moss possibly taking some touches away. He had 3 touches in a game where they were pretty much beating the Patriots. I'm not that scared. Devin Singletary's going to have much better running lanes for you this week. Let's see here. What about Saquon and Cordell Patterson? Both guys have kind of fallen off the cliff. Are you trust any of these guys in your starting lineups?
Trust is a hard word to say, but I don't trust them. But they might be scratching some starting lineups. I know it's kind of hard Barkley-wise because he's getting the work, but he's also splitting time. They're all splitting time. Actually, no, I don't trust him. Don't do it, guys. Don't do it.
Yeah,
Patterson's down to 8 touches, 8 rush attempts, and a couple pass catches a game. That's not getting done. He's pretty much Mike Davis.
basically. See, both these matchups are tough because Saquon has been underperforming, and the Bears have kind of been letting up rushing yards to running backs. But the way that they've been kind of splitting him and Devontae Booker, to me, you're taking a big risk for a guy who just really hasn't been running the ball that well and hasn't even been the best runner in his backfield. I think if you could leave him off your starting lineups, I would. Cordell Patterson, I trust a little bit more in lineups because he is still seeing the workload. Yeah, he hasn't performed either to that standard, but Buffalo has been very lenient to running backs, and I expect the Falcons to be very far behind in this game where Cordell Patterson might actually have to be used correctly finally in matchups that he was early on in the season. So uh, I'm still okay with Cordell Patterson as a
18
starter.
carries, 32 yards over the last 2 weeks.
It's not great, but
Yeah, I'll rather rock with Cordell. You just don't know where you're going to get out of the Giants, their quarterback situation, and how that could go. Hopefully, Mike Glennon, but still, you don't think that's going to be touchdown passes galore.
Right. What about Jarrett Patterson? He is the now presumed starter for the Washington football team. Now, do you trust him enough to throw in the starting lineup?
Who are they playing this week?
Dallas.
They're playing the Eagles.
Oh, they're playing the Eagles. Eagles, yeah, you're right. Eagles.
Yeah, I'll throw him in as a low flex in a standard league.
Okay. Yeah, I think his only value would be for me is standard. I don't think I trust him enough to play him. I mean, he's the only one there. My concern is that somehow the Washington football team just decides to throw Jonathan Williams in. He's on their team and he scored a touchdown a few weeks ago. He had carries this past week, and he gets involved in this offense way more than we think, because we think that Jarrett Patterson's going to see this giant workload, and because we've seen a guy like Antonio Gibson have a great workload, but I'm a little nervous that he doesn't perform to standard. Again, if you're desperate, obviously you might have to start him. He's a great pickup if you're looking for an RB2 possibly, but I'd be slightly concerned with him. What about Michael Carter? Do you trust Michael Carter against the Bucks?
No.
No, I don't either. I like Michael Carter, even though Tevin Coleman's probably out, but I just don't think they're going to run the ball enough for me to be that happy with it. What about Dar from the Jacksonville Jaguars? How do you feel about that?
All right. I don't really trust it, but you could use them just because the Patriots have been hit or miss with their defending the running backs over the whole
Right.
course of the year. I feel like they get like a huge game, like 90, 80, 100 yards, or they're pretty much around like 60, 50 yards for rushers. So he's going to get work. So that's my only shine and hope for him.
I respect it. I'm probably off it, honestly. If you have them, you pick them up, great. But I probably wouldn't start them unless I was desperate to. They did sign Raquan Treadwell back to the team, and likely they're going to split some kind of carries. I believe last time they didn't really have a third RB on their team, so Dar kind of got a lot of the work. So, but one last one real quick. Deandra Swift, he's back now. You start him, no hesitation.
Hesitation, yes.
Hesitation, yes. Okay. Yes, I'm hesitating to start him unless if I have better options that I trust who's been playing the last 4 weeks, then yes. If I don't, he's a big upside play because we don't know what's going to happen with him, honestly. He could get hurt early on. We don't know how much work he's going to get, but we'll see.
That's
All right,
so
huh?
I said it's there for him.
Oh, it's for sure is. So hopefully he gets it. So we'll see. All right, so over to the wide receivers now, Jibs. Who's your wide receiver sleeper? I'm sorry.
Ooh, my wide receiver sleeper this week is going to be Odell Beckham.
Ooh.
And I know he's not really like a low-end sleeper pick that we normally do, so this could kind of apply to Van Jefferson as well. But last week we saw the Ravens defense get destroyed, dismantled by the Bengals passing offense, 525 passing yards, and the Ravens defense is going to get healthier anytime soon. They have better hopes for next year. They have a massive amounts of people on IR. Marlon Humphrey's done for the year, so I don't think it's going to get much better. And the Rams passing offense with Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham, Van Jefferson, I don't think it's going to get much better this week for the Baltimore Ravens defense. So I think all three of them have a good shot to have a good game, and the Ravens are just lackluster, man. Like even though like they have like I guess for the season so far, the Ravens allow the fifth most points to wide receivers because of that huge game last week. So the stats are inflated, but it is true they are bad. Start them up.
Very bad, very bad. Definitely like that one there a
And I
lot.
like Odell because he scored 4 touchdowns in 5 games since he's played with the Rams. So
Basically, basically. All right. Let me see here. Who am I gonna go after here? Man, I don't even know at this point. This is a tough one though. The wide receivers don't the lower tier ones don't have the best matchups that you want to trust in a championship week kind of atmosphere. I guess Kendrick Bourne, if you're looking for a wide receiver this week. He does play the Jags. It could be a good matchup for him. He's been tailing off near the end of the season here now, but maybe they can kind of get him back in the mix now that Nelson Aguilar is out for this matchup again, and it's a much easier matchup than he had, in the prior weeks. Again, hopefully that kind of happens. He's kind of touchdown based, but he's a upside play touchdown kind of monster. Not monster, but upside wide receiver. So, yeah, that's going to be my sleeper this week. All right, so let's talk about some of these players here, Jibs. Guys like Justin Jefferson and KJ Osborne. I mean, KJ Osborne probably is sitting out at this point, but Justin Jefferson, do you lower your expectation on him now that the Packers are getting Jair Alexander back. It's in Green Bay. It's supposed to be like 5 degrees. It's a backup quarterback who barely has played many starts. Do you trust Justin Jefferson in starting lineups, no matter what?
He's getting this. He's not leaving the lineup. Like I'm lowering my expectations. I don't know what I'm going to get out of the grab bag of the backup quarterback, but for God bless him, and I hope that he just gets peppered with targets. There's no Adam Thielen, obviously. I know Conklin was kind of banged up early on this week, so KJ Osborne, Dalvin Cook, JJ, make it happen, please.
Yeah, you can't not start Justin Jefferson, but you might need to lower your expectation on what he's going to give you. Maybe because usually a lot of backups kind of target just their main wide receiver, so he might be perfectly fine. But if you thought KJ Osborne was a sleeper still, I'd be hesitant to want to play him in this matchup here for sure. Let's keep going down the list here. Do you start all 3 Bengals wide receivers? If they all had great.
You can make a case. I'm going Higgins 1, Chase 2. You can flex Tyler Boyd. Yeah, has come alive. I know he's still not getting that much volume, but he scored a touchdown in the last 2 games. And the Chiefs are the Chiefs, so.
Yeah, I think T. Higgins is an automatic start. Chase, I think you need to lower your expectation what he does on a week-to-week basis because he's very boom or bust potential with him. Tyler Boyd might be an okay flex because he's playing the slot role this week. But yeah, I kind of have him in that same order too, to be honest. So let's see here. I'm gonna roll down here. Terry McLaurin, just a no for you?
That's a no. Big no.
Hollywood Brown.
Nope.
Nope. Brandon Ayuk.
Nope.
Chase Claypool.
Definitely not.
No, okay.
I barely could trust what I'm getting out of Deontay Johnson. I don't want to depend on Chase Claypool's stats on a week-to-week basis.
Okay, DJ Moore.
No. Even though he's like a floor play of 10 points in PPR if you want to get that, but I just don't know. You see Cam come in, you see Sam come in, be even worse than Cam. TJ Walker's just on the bench thinking well, man, just put me in, guys. At least I could throw to DJ Moore. But unless PJ Walker started, I'm not playing no DJ Moore.
All right. What about Mike Williams?
Mike Williams is
fresh off of COVID. Nice Denver.
Nah, I'm good. It's been too inconsistent, and not obviously, but we've seen a small trend of some guys who come back from COVID, like Tyreek Hill last week, and just not have good games.
Right, and I'm kind of on the same page with you, Jibs. I'm pretty much no to all these guys. What about Russell Gage?
No. Not against the Bills. No.
Devontae Parker.
Ghost showing? No.
Yeah, we're saying no to way too many people here, but I love it because I'm on the same page as you. I don't trust them right now. Allen Lazard. Do you trust Allen Lazard? Minnesota, good matchup. Obviously, weather might have an issue, but
I trust him out of the whole group. But him
and MVS. Do you trust these guys?
I'd rather trust them out of the whole group because they could be boom or bust. But for Lazard, he's hadn't gotten a couple red zone looks over the last couple of weeks. So besides Devontae Adams, he's the second man up for the receivers in that regard. MVS, he can make a boom play, 60-yard touchdown from Aaron Rodgers anytime, and Savage is weak. So those two options are a little bit appetizing against that Minnesota Vikings pass defense.
I very much agree with you on that, honestly. Let's see here. Do we want to go any further down? There's no one really down here. Let's see here. No, I think I'm just going to call it there at that, and then we're going to head over to the tight ends and get that up and finished for the day. So give me a tight end, whether it's a sleeper or a bust for you. Make it easy for you. This is a tough week last week.
I'm going with Jared Everett. Detroit gives us the 10th most fantasy points to tight ends. They have allowed 3 tight ends over the last 3 weeks to get 50 more receiving yards, which is great production for a streaming tight end. So I think that's pretty easy for me.
I like it a lot. Let's see here. Albert O becomes an immediate option for me as a sleeper, to be honest, especially against the Chargers, who will give up the second most fantasy points to tight ends this season here, especially if Jerry Jeudy and if Cortland Sutton's also gone. Uh, yeah, I'm definitely trying to start Albert O for sure. Would you Locks at quarterback? Let's see here. Any concerns with Travis Kelce coming off the COVID list? We saw from Tyreek Hill this week.
I'm firing him up. I have a little bit slight hope that Travis Kelce, he's also getting an extra, I wouldn't say week, but like 5 days because he didn't actually come back and play in that game. So he has a better shot to get a little bit more fit in that
Yeah,
regard.
that is true. I mean, I'm starting him no matter what. No matter
Yeah.
what he's going to give you, he's going to give you a 10. But people might be concerned about that for sure. Mike Gesicki, do you play Mike Gesicki? He's kind of been just a no-show for Miami over the last 2 months.
No.
Yeah, I'd look elsewhere if you're playing Mike Gesicki. Honestly, the Titans are actually one of the better teams against tight ends, and they saw them shut down George Kittle this past week. So I would not be interested in kind of going after his direction here. Let's see if can I find one more. Let's see here. Do you start like Ricky Seals-Jones or John Bates, the tight ends for the Washington football team versus the Eagles at all?
I wouldn't want to because we've been used to seeing one tight end just kind of register like all the snaps and the yardage, but since Ricky Seals-Jones came back from the IR, you've seen kind of a split, and I rather not deal with that. I know the matchup's very enticing with the Eagles, but you just don't know who's going to grab that touchdown.
Right. And what about Pat Freiermuth? He should be back, I think, because after his concussion, do you trust him in this matchup? Ben's last home game?
I don't trust him, but you could play him if you wanted to.
I think he gives you a safe floor. He gives you a low-end tight end one possibility. It is definitely a concern with his concussions that he's had over the last 2 months. Again, it's not a guarantee he plays, but if he does, they're going to probably do everything they can to give Big Ben their last great game. So I'm okay with that. So, all right, cool. So that is going to end our show today, guys. So we thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to us this entire 2021 year. I know it's been tough for everyone, especially with COVID and everything in between. We just really greatly appreciate you guys listening in into what we have to say, and hopefully we've helped you get close to winning a championship, and hopefully we do get you a couple championships after Sunday. So we thank you guys for listening. As always, you can find us on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy. We will be taking a short break in the month of January. We'll be back to talk Dynasty. A lot of fun Dynasty talk we're going to get into after this. Next month is over, so please come back and just listen to us. And if you have questions, please feel free to always reach out to us on Twitter. And if you ever want to hit up me and Coach Gibbs personally, you can do that on Twitter at Coach Stephen P.
Hot take Concho.
So we thank you guys for listening in this entire season. We do appreciate it as always. And until next time, guys, see you all in 2022.